Good morning, I'm Tim Bruno. Welcome to the Culture Club. Happiness is something we all seek, but for some it can be elusive. So what if you could learn to be happy? What if you could take a happiness class? Well, don't worry, be happy, you can. Nick Roes is the author of several best-selling books and has taught at Brown University and Marist College. He's teaching How to Be Happy classes at the Artists Market in Shahola, Pennsylvania. Nick, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Can you really teach happiness?
I think you can. A lot of people don't realize that happiness is actually a choice, and so they don't try to be happy. But there's some very simple things that you can do to make yourself happier. Most people say, I want to be happy, but my goldfish died, or I want to be happy, but it's raining outside and I wanted to go on a picnic. So what you're really saying is, are you willing to be happy as long as goldfish never die and it never rains? So we try to help you get the but out of that sentence in the class.
If happiness is a choice, then why do you think everyone doesn't choose to be happy?
If that were the only choice, I'm sure people would say, I choose to be happy. But people don't realize that the choices they make every day, all the little choices, add up to happiness or unhappiness. So they have to go back a little ways to start making different choices that will add up to happiness.
So in your classes, How to Be Happy at the Artists Market in Shahola, you say those courses are more practical than philosophical. How so?
Right. I'm not a guru or anything like that. We'll never say happiness is a deep well. It's just things that are practical that you can do, how to turn complaints into goals, how to look at things a little bit differently, practical ways to break habits and make better habits, things like that that really are down to earth and almost everyone can do.
Do you think that that suffering is a way that people become a better person, perhaps?
No, I think that's one of the things that is an obstacle to happiness. People say, oh, well, I suffered, and so I learned from that, or I suffered. But that's one of the most cockamamie ideas I've ever heard in my life, because you can learn from joy and delight much more than you can learn from suffering. And suffering only tells you what you don't like and what's wrong. So what people miss usually is the very special kind of person that they are. So they say, I had this experience and I suffered and I handled it this way and I'm a better person now. But really, they were the better person before, because you can always point to people who had that same experience and didn't handle it as well or did much worse.
So they hold on to the suffering more.
Yeah, the suffering is not an ingredient of happiness.
Right. And you say it's irrelevant if you're unhappy. It doesn't really matter why you're unhappy.
Right. If you go to a psychiatrist and say, I'm depressed, you only learn where the psychiatrist went to school. So if you go to a feminist psychiatrist, she's going to say, oh, you're depressed because of the inequality of a male-dominated society. If you go to medically focused one, he'll say, oh, it's because of a chemical imbalance in your brain. If you go to a cognitive therapist, he'll say, oh, it's because you have inappropriate thoughts in your head. If you go to a psychodynamic therapist, what was your potty training? That's why you're depressed. And all these things might have a little bit to do with it, but why you're depressed that's not what you really want to know. You want to know how to be happy. When you're lost, you never roll down the window and say, excuse me, can you tell me how I got here? You always ask for how can I get to where I want to be. That's the relevant information. So it doesn't matter how you got lost or why you're depressed.
So what are the basic ingredients of happiness?
So the research, there's a whole body of research, positive psychology, that we're learning about now, the ingredients of happiness. And connection with other human beings is surely one. It's not money. People are bad at guessing what makes them happy. Lots of times they pick things that don't last. And what we're finding that if you focus on experiences, you'll be happier than if you focus on material things. Say you buy a pair of shoes, that will make you the happiest the first day that you have them. And then every day after that, they'll make you a little bit less happy. But if you spend your money on an experience, the way our brains work, it gets better and better in your mind over time. So that's another thing.
Because you're remembering back to the experience.
Right, and you have it with you forever.
I think that when someone talks about classes for how to be happy or how to attain happiness, they might approach it from the way that they were approaching things in school. It's a test, or it's a piece of paper with things to memorize or learn. Is that the case in your classes?
One of the ways to be happy is to separate your performance from happiness. Like you separate happiness from outcomes. So your goals are ones that you can really control. Not I'm going to win the lottery, not I'm going to be famous, but I'm going to spend my life as an actor. If nobody sees me or not, it doesn't matter.
Right. And how are the classes structured? What do you do? Is it a weekly basis? Is it a monthly
There's
basis?
eight classes once a week, and they basically have different topics for each class, but a lot of it is based on who happens to attend. So we are very flexible and can focus on the people who are there, and it's always fun and it's always different every time because of the different people who come. And they almost always give too much credit to me because they have everything they needed when they came in the door. You know, and they sometimes they cry at the end of the 8 weeks. They say that their life has been changed, but really, that means I didn't do as good a job as I should have. If they leave saying I'm a wonderful person, then I did a good job. If they say, "Oh, Nick, you're so smart," then I failed them in some kind of a way.
Is the class structured in the where you're sort of lecturing to them, or is it a conversation among the group of
More
folks that have
conversation
attended?
than lecturing. Usually we'll introduce a topic and see what other people's thoughts are on it. And I think it's such a good class because I've learned from everybody who's come there. So it's not a good class because I knew everything when I started it. I think it's gotten to be a better and better class through all the people who've come.
How's the reaction been? How has it been with people that have? You said that people have come and they've enjoyed it and they've come out of it in a positive light. Overall, have you felt like you've had a positive reaction to the How to Be Happy classes?
Yes, I like the reaction before they come even better though, because usually the reaction is, what kind of a fathead is going to teach a class about how to be happy? And that's really great. I like that because that's what I would be thinking if I went to a class like that. And then it's really not that way when you get there. It's not that I have this knowledge and I'm going to pour it into your heads. It's more I can open up what's inside you already.
And how do you do that? What is your background that allows you to do that? I mean, we mentioned that you are an author and you've taught some classes at several colleges. What's the background that allows you to help unlock that?
I worked for 29 years as executive director of a laboratory for happiness. It's called New Hope Manor in Barryville, New York. It's a substance abuse treatment center for women. And some of the bravest women in the world came there who had lost everything in their lives and they were trying to start over. And they actually stayed there for a year and got their lives together. So I learned almost everything from them.
So you're taking those same principles and applying it more broadly.
Right. And it's very individual. Like there's not 5 things I can tell you that will work for everybody. So that's why each person has to find their own way to happiness.
You've said that most people feel they have a good side and a bad side, and that sometimes those two sides within are at war. But you say that's not true. We both have two good sides. What do you mean by that?
Yes, I think that's an obstacle too. People think that half of them is no good and half of them is good, and the good half is always trying to kill the bad half. But that's a recipe for unhappiness, really. So we have one side that is our survival side that nobody ever has to teach us. Nobody has to teach us to be sleepy or hungry or horny. That just comes automatically. And then we have an intellectual side that is logic and has language. And sometimes we think that our survival side is the bad side, but that's really giving us good information and giving us, we have to trust that and balance it with our intellectual side. So there's no emotion that is wrong or bad. You can be jealous of a competitor, and that's fine. Burn down the competitor's store is not fine. So that survival instinct is good, but it has to be balanced by the other side. And if it's out of balance in any way, you can probably be more unhappy than you should be, because if you're overly intellectual and never feel anything, you're not going to be very happy. And if you just are a bundle of emotions and no sense at all, you're not going to be very happy either.
What is something you could offer to folks that are listening who may think the way some of the other folks who've heard about these classes have thought, like, who is this guy teaching happiness? What are some practical ideas or I don't know if I want to say advice, but what are some practical things you could offer to folks about this who probably are interested in being happier? The first, most important thing I think is to believe that you can be happier, because people are motivated by two different things, usually positive motivation, moving toward a goal that they want, or negative motivation, moving away from something that they don't want. And most of us, or a lot of us, too many of us, are motivated by negative motivation. And that can be really good, because it can be a start. It can bring people to a happiness class. But when you think of, if you get a job because you don't want to be poor, and you get married because you don't want to be alone, that's really negative motivation. So you're always
motivated more by fear of what you don't want. And if you have positive motivation, have good relationships, have a rewarding job, you're going to be motivated by hope, and that's going to be much better. So try to think a little bit about what motivates you, and if you're motivated by avoiding the things that you don't want, try to see ways you can turn that around to be motivated more towards what you do want, and something more positive.
Turning around your thinking really is a key to this.
Yes, it's one of the keys.
Fantastic. Nick Roes, author and instructor of How to Be Happy classes at the Artists Market in Shahola, Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Forget your troubles, come on, get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. Get ready for the judgment day. The sun is shining, come on, get happy. The Lord is waiting to take your hand. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy.